Good afternoon, everyone. This is Chelsea Jones with Illinois WorkNet, and I'm going to go ahead and get us started with the pre-layoff webinar. I just want to go over a couple housekeeping items in regards to the webinar before I turn it over to Annie with DCEO. First off, you'll notice on the left-hand side of our screen there is a chat pod. This is open to everyone to chat in. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them in there, and Annie will address them as she goes through her PowerPoint or all of them at the end, depending on how many questions you have. And then below that, there is a file share pod. Within this pod, there is the PowerPoint that Annie is going to be going over, and then a couple other laid-off worker flyers available for you. So you can either click on each one individually and download, or I believe you have the option of downloading all of them. And if you have any problems hearing the webinar over your computer speakers, we do have a conference number that you can call into at any time during the webinar. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Annie now.
Okay, thanks, Chelsea. Like Chelsea said, my name is Annie Dorr. I'm with the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. Whenever a company is doing a layoff, they send notice to the state of Illinois, and it's received by DCEO, the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. And that sets a process in motion with what we call our rapid response team. And one of the things that we do is we run programs under what is called the Workforce Investment Act, or WIA. And we receive funding and resources to run this program. And one of the aspects of that is specifically for folks who are considered what we call dislocated workers. And dislocated workers are people who lose their job through no fault of their own. So, what we plan to do for the next 30 minutes or so is to kind of go through the basic information about what this program is and the resources and tools that are available to you as a result of your layoff. The whole goal behind this program is basically to shorten the length of time between your current job and what your next job is going to be, and hopefully make that an easier transition for you. Um, so if you have questions, like Chelsea said, go ahead and type them in the chat pod and we'll address them as we go along. As I mentioned, we uh, sorry, Chelsea, I'm having trouble advancing to the next slide. There we go, thanks. Um, we partner with a number of different agencies to provide services under the Workforce Investment Act. One of those is, besides DCEO, is the Illinois Department of Employment Security, or IDES. Um, and also, they are also known as the Unemployment Office. Also, uh, local workforce investment areas that are located throughout the state of Illinois. There are 23 areas within the state, and they run like our local offices where you can go into these brick and mortar, what we call Illinois WorkNet centers, to obtain these services that we're going to be talking about. And I will tell you in just a few minutes how to locate the one closest to you. Also, wanted to mention that most of the funding for our programs, it comes from your tax dollars. This is a federal program, so whether you live in Illinois or you live outside of Illinois, you have access to these services. They may be administered a little bit differently in different states, but these are your tax dollars at work, so take advantage of these services. Also, we partner with regional and local economic development teams to keep an eye on industry trends, what's happening in the local labor markets. And I'll talk about these different partners as we go throughout our presentation. I mentioned the local workforce investment area, or what we call LWIAs, and these are places where you can go for information on anything having to do with the job search process. So if it's been a long time since you've had to conduct a job search, these centers have a wealth of information and tools available to you um, to assist you through the process. You can do career assessments if you're not sure what your next step is, or you're not even sure where to begin the process of looking for a job. There are folks in these centers who can assist you. Um, they're they offer individual case management services. So basically, those are case managers that will assist you in navigating the process of participating in a lot of these programs. Um, so what you would do typically is contact one of the Illinois WorkNet centers, and they usually have you come in for what they call an orientation session, where they'll explain to you how the process works, what paperwork they need from you, how to get started, and your case manager will work with you one-on-one from there. You can also take advantage of workshops. They have some really great resume writing workshops if it's been a while since you've put a resume together, or if it's been a long time since you've been on an interview. They have some great interviewing workshops. Um, Also, social media is becoming more and more important within the job search arena, things like LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter. So, if those are tools that you're not familiar with or you'd like to become more familiar with, there are resources available regarding those uh, as well. One of the most important things, too, are opportunities for job skills retraining. There are training grants available to you as a dislocated worker so that if you are in a position where you'd like to upgrade your skills, say, for example, let's say you are in IT and you want to go and get an additional IT certification, there is funding available to pay for something like that. If you do a lot of project managing and you want to go get a project management certification, you can do that. Typically, it's short term training, and by that, we typically mean less than 2 years. And you're either like making a career change, and it can't just be anything. It's got to be in a high growth field. So things like healthcare, technology, manufacturing, those are all growing. And it can be something very short term, maybe a 2 week certification program. But there are training dollars available for you to access there. In addition, there is an online component called IllinoisWorkNet.com. And this is a place where you can access basically everything you can access at an Illinois WorkNet center, but you can do it online. And IllinoisWorkNet.com is a portal, uh, basically a virtual WorkNet center, and you can find information here to help you identify what your career interests might be. It'll help you explore different careers, look at required skills for those careers. You can view videos related to job training and the job search process. You can download worksheets. You can connect to a whole bunch of job search resources. You can even connect to a link to file for unemployment benefits, and any number of employment support services. This is pretty much a portal for anybody who has a vested interest in the workforce in the state of Illinois. So, whether you're a job seeker or a business or a workforce professional, there are resources on here for you. You can see on the screen there, they have a virtual job club, things like that. Probably the easiest way for you to find information on Illinois WorkNet is when you go to the website. On the right-hand side, you'll find a link called Recover from a Layoff, and that'll help you navigate through a lot of the resources that would be applicable to you. In addition, you can go to IllinoisWorkNet.com and click on a link called Find a Location, and it will ask you for your zip code, and it will provide you contact information addresses, phone numbers, and website addresses for the local workNet center in your area. I'm going to switch gears here a little bit and talk about protecting your retirement and health benefits. Obviously, a big concern when you are facing a layoff. You'll see up on your screen several acronyms. Some you may be familiar with. So let me first talk a little bit about health benefits. Um, HIPAA, which is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, provides services and information when you are enrolling in another health plan. So, for example, if you are married and your spouse has a group health insurance plan through their employer, typically, businesses will have what they call an open enrollment period where you can sign up for health benefits. And once that open enrollment period ends, that opportunity to sign up for benefits closes unless there's what they call a life-changing event. And the fact that you are being laid off fits under what is termed a life-changing event. So one of your options might be to seek out health coverage under your spouse's plan. Um, the biggest catch here is that the request to be enrolled under your spouse's plan must be made within 30 days of your losing eligibility for coverage under your current employer. So there is that time frame that's important to keep in mind. Um, Also, up on your screen, COBRA. Many of us have heard about COBRA benefits. This is a situation where you may want to continue you and your family's health coverage under the group plan you're currently covered under with your current employer. Um, COBRA provides benefits so that once your job ends, whoever the provider is for your health coverage provides you with some written notice explaining what your rights are under COBRA. And you have 60 days from the date of that notice or 60 days from the date your coverage ends, whichever is later, to sign up for benefits under COBRA. This is basically like your insurance would continue for a period of up to 18 months. I think it can go longer in certain cases, but typically 18 months. Uh, but you not only pay the premium that you have been paying all along, but you also pay the portion of the premium that your employer has been paying. And in addition, there's a 2% administrative fee. So for a lot of folks, that is cost prohibitive. Um, and another thing that isn't on the screen that I want to mention because it's been in the news lately is the Affordable Care Act, or the acronym for that is the ACA. And that does add some important protections related to employer-based health plans that may affect you. For example, if you are under the age of 26, there's an opportunity that you may still be covered under your uh, parents' health coverage. There are some like pre-existing, you can no longer prohibit someone from coverage because of pre-existing conditions. And all of those things may come into play when you're thinking about continuing with health coverage. Um, the U.S. Department of Labor runs an agency called the Employee Benefits Security Administration, or EBSA, and they are experts on these health plans and what these laws are. And you can go to their website, which you see down at the bottom of your screen, and you can download pamphlets of information that may be appropriate to whatever your particular situation is, and it will give you all a lot of information about health coverage. And then in addition, finally up there, you see the acronym ERISA, which is Employee Retirement Income Security Act. And basically what this does is it provides information to you about protecting your retirement assets. And so what they typically recommend is that if you lose your job, that you contact the uh, um, supplier of whoever your like your 401k or your pension plan would be, and request what they call a summary plan description, or otherwise known as an SPD, which will outline for you what your particular rights and benefits are. Um, and it will spell out for you when you can collect benefits or how to go about rolling over a 401k account to a new employer, or if your plan allows you to do so, how to roll it over into an IRA. The other thing that you want to request is like an individual benefit statement so that it tells you what your account balances are. And one of the things that is important to remember here is that you always keep your contact information up to date with whoever your plan's supplier is. And again, if you go to the website listed at the bottom of the screen, you can download information that may be helpful to you. And also, if you have some specific questions, you can call that 866 number on your screen and speak to a benefits advisor at the U.S. Department of Labor, and they will be able to answer your questions for you. So again, I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit about unemployment insurance benefits. Um, Unemployment insurance is basically a state administered program that is designed to provide workers with some financial assistance during temporary periods of involuntary unemployment or underemployment. Underemployment would be like if you're working a part time job, but you really want to be working full time, or you are not working at a job that is at the same skill level as the job you were laid off from. That can also be considered underemployment. Here in Illinois, the unemployment insurance is administered by the Illinois Department of Employment Security, or IDES. And what they do is they collect unemployment insurance taxes from the state's employers, and then they pay out those dollars to eligible workers when they lose their job. A lot of people think that workers pay into the system. It's actually the employers who do so. So, in order to be eligible for unemployment benefits, there are a couple of things to keep in mind, and one of them is monetary eligibility requirements. And I will tell you this, the information on the screen is a little bit confusing. I don't put it up there to confuse you, but just to kind of let you know that they do look at your wages in what they call your base period. So you see there it says you must have been paid $1,600 or more in wages during your base period for insured work. Insured work just means that you worked for an employer that paid into the unemployment insurance system here in Illinois, and then your base period is basically, let's say, so you, if your layoff date is January 2014, they look at 4 of the last 5 previous quarters. So they look at October, November, December 2013 wages and throw those out. And then they start looking at October, November, December 2012 wages, and then those first 3 quarters of 2013. And they say in one of those quarters, you had to have been paid at least $1,600. And in another one of those quarters, you had to have been paid a minimum of $440. So, not real important information on how they calculate it, but just to let you know that it is based on your wages during that time period. And then there are some non monetary eligibility requirements. And one of those is that you are involuntarily unemployed or underemployed, meaning that basically you were laid off, you didn't quit your job. Um, and then you also have to be able, available, and actively seeking work, which is basically what they call the work test, and we'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. You also have to be registered on their job search website called Illinois Job Link, and we'll talk more about that in a minute as well. And then you have to serve what they call a waiting week, which just means that for the first week after you lose your job, you are not paid benefits during that waiting week. You'll still file, and we'll talk about that, but you don't get paid for that first week. And then once you file your initial claim for benefits, you need to do what they call certify for benefits every 2 weeks, which is basically just the process. Certifying is just the process of letting the state know that you are still unemployed and you are still looking for work and you are still claiming benefits. So when and where you want to file as soon as possible, as soon as so if you lose your job today, you can file for benefits tomorrow. And you can do that either online at the IDES website you see on your screen there, or you can go in person to the local IDES office. You can find where that office is by going to the IDES website or by calling that 800 number on your screen. Bear in mind that the local offices are open from 8:30 in the morning till 5, Monday through Friday. And then once you file, or once you go in to file, you'll need to provide some information. Uh, and you see that listed on your screen. You'll have to verify your social security number. You'll have to provide names, addresses, and phone numbers for all of the employers you've had in the last 18 months, how long you've worked for them, and the reason for your separation from that employer. Um, Also, you'll need to provide information regarding any pension or retirement payments that you're receiving, which may include Social Security. If you are going to if you have a non-working spouse who you want to claim as a dependent on your unemployment insurance, you'll need to provide your spouse's name, what their employment status is, and then also their Social Security number. And then also, if you claim a dependent child, you'll have to provide the child's name and birth date and social security number. Just a couple of points about claiming a dependent. Typically, you could, or well, you not typically, you can claim either one or the other, either a dependent spouse or a dependent child, but not both. Typically, if you have a dependent child, which would be a child under the age of 18, or a child who is maybe older than 18 but is disabled, could be a dependent. And you get paid just a little bit more for a dependent child than a dependent spouse. Um, and it doesn't matter whether you have 10 dependent children or one, you get to only claim one. So then once you make your initial filing for benefits, you will receive in the U.S. mail what they call a UI finding statement, which is basically a letter which has the seal of the state of Illinois on it. And on that finding statement will be information about those base period wages. It will show you uh, how much those wages were, what they're looking at to calculate your benefit amount. It will tell you how much your weekly benefit amount will be, so how much you'll receive every week, although you'll file every 2 weeks. Um, and also what your maximum benefit amount is. So typically, you can file for benefits for a 26-week period uh, within 52 weeks. So let's say you make a claim for benefits beginning today, January 15th. Um, that is the beginning date of what they call your benefit year. And up until January 14th of 2015, you can claim unemployment benefits for 26 of those 52 weeks. And I'll explain why that's important in just a minute. Um, Typically, though, you are going to be paid unemployment benefits after the end of the week. Uh, the benefit weeks are on a calendar week, which begins on Sunday and ends on Saturday. So if you don't work between Sunday and Saturday after that week is over, that's when you'll make your claim for that week. Um, after I mentioned before that you will need to call or to go online every 2 weeks to certify for benefits. Your UI finding letter will tell you when you need to certify. It'll let you know is it Wednesday or Thursday. And you will, every 2 weeks, either go online or call. You'll see the 312 number on your screen that you can call anytime between 5 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. And they have like this touch tone system called teleserve. And either online or through teleserve, they will ask you a series of questions that will you'll have to answer in order to certify that you're eligible for benefits. Um, some of those questions we mentioned before: are you able, available, and actively seeking work? Um, able to accept a suitable job. Basically, what that means is able, you weren't in the hospital, you were healthy enough to be able to work, and a suitable job, like I said, would be one that's like at a comparable skill level. So if you were a vice president of real estate services or something like that, they're not expecting you, it would not be a suitable job for you to be wait staff at a restaurant. Um, available for work means that you weren't on vacation. If a job became available, you were available. And actively seeking work means that you are conducting a job search and you are required to keep a log of what your job search activities are each week. More and more, I'm seeing them ask that claimants produce those job search logs, and it's very difficult to recreate, so you want to make sure you're keeping that log as you go along. You can do this on an Excel spreadsheet, but you can also do it. There's a form on the IDES website you can download, or you can go into the local IDES office and request what they call a work search form. But generally, it's recording the date that something happened. Like, for example, on January 15th, I attended a job fair, or I went to a networking event, or I sent a resume and who the company was, and then also kind of keeping a log as you go along what the results were. I got no response, or dropped off 10 resumes, or whatever it was. One question that comes up frequently is what happens if I'm offered part-time work or consulting work or a contract job? How does that affect my unemployment insurance benefits? Um, it can affect your benefits, and so I want you to understand how that works. Uh, when you call in to certify for benefits, you will be asked the question, um, did you have earnings? And you will report your earnings during the week that you earn them, not the week that you're paid for them, but the week that you earn them. And you're just going to report what your gross wages were. Now, if your gross wages um, exceed 50% of what your weekly benefit amount is, but not go over what that amount is, they will deduct the amount of your gross wages from your benefit amount and send you a partial payment of whatever's left. So, for example, if you typically get paid $100 a week as your unemployment benefit, and you work a part-time job and you're paid $75, or you earn $75 that week, they'll deduct the $75 and just send you the $25. However, if your wages exceed what your weekly benefit amount is, they will not pay benefits for that week. This can be important because, as I mentioned before, you have 26 weeks within your 1 year period to claim benefits. So let's say, and then let's say, for example, you make unemployment claims for 4 weeks. Okay. So and then you get a contract job that lasts 2 weeks. So that amount is over what your weekly benefit amount is. So you're not going to make a claim for 2 weeks. So uh, you after those 2 weeks are up, you're going to call in and certify for benefits. Your claim is still open. It's open for 52 weeks, and you'll claim another week of benefit. So you've only, even though you're 6 weeks into the benefit year, you've only claimed 4 weeks of benefits. So sometimes it's helpful to or useful, depending on what your situation is, to go ahead and take some part-time work or to work a contract or temporary job. And if you have questions about your particular situation and how it may affect your benefits, you can go online to the IDES website or again call that claimant services number. Um, People are always curious about the minimum or how much are they are going to receive. These amounts on here show you the minimum and maximum benefit amounts. So you'll see there if you're an individual, the minimum amount you would receive would be $51 a week, and the maximum is 403. Just a point of information, this is information from 2012. I think the maximum for an individual is now about 417 a week, so it's gone up just a little bit. And then if you're an individual with a dependent spouse, you see the figures there. And then if you're an individual with a dependent child, you can see the numbers there. So just to give you some ballpark idea of what to expect. Again, the amount you receive is dependent on what those um, base wages are and whether you worked any other jobs during the week that you're claiming benefits for. When you make your initial claim for benefits, it will ask you some questions. You have the option of choosing whether you want your benefits paid out on a debit card or directly deposited into a bank account. The very first payment that they make to you always comes on a debit card, so you'll get that in the mail. Go ahead and activate it and use it, and your direct deposit should kick in by the time you certify for benefits the next time. Typically, electronic payments are available 2 to 3 business days after you certify. And another thing to keep in mind is that your unemployment benefits are subject to state and federal income taxes. You can elect to have those withheld before you uh, receive payment. So, Linda, you have a question. What if I collect Social Security and it's greater than the unemployment benefit? Um, you can still be eligible for unemployment benefits under certain circumstances. And what I would encourage you to do is to call that claimant services number, the 800 number, and explain what your particular situation is, and they will be able to address definitely whether and how Social Security would affect your unemployment benefits. Um, but typically, I believe you can get at least a portion of your unemployment benefit and still receive your Social Security benefits as well. Does that answer your question, Linda? Okay, great, thanks. All right. Finally, I mentioned in order to be eligible for unemployment insurance benefits, you have to be registered on IllinoisJobLink.com. Again, this is sort of the job search website for the state of Illinois. It pulls in information from other job search websites such as Monster.com, Indeed.com, some others that I'm sure you will be familiar with. And we share this with, I believe, about 7 or 8 other states. So there are a ton of jobs listed on the website. Employers go in and post jobs, and you will go in and create an account in order to register on the website. And you can search for jobs in your particular area, in your industry, at a wage that you're looking for. And if you have any trouble registering at illinoisjoblink.com, there is help available in any of the Illinois WorkNet centers or the IDES local offices. You can go in there and ask for assistance for um, registering on those websites. Um, and finally, I just want to put up there on the screen some of the websites that I've referenced throughout our presentation today, and also the 800 number for the Claimant Services Center. I cannot encourage you enough to go to these websites. There are a wealth of resources and tools out there, but it's incumbent upon you to seek them out and take advantage of them. Get yourself in the process. Contact your Illinois WorkNet Center. Go in to one of the orientation sessions if you're interested in job training or assistance with job search. Visit the illinoisworknet.com portal, and I wish you all the best of luck. If there are no more questions, that kind of concludes our presentation today. I really appreciate your time and attention. Thank you very much.